This is my friend Björn. He has had many interesting jobs, but there's one job that interests me more than others, and that's the one we're going to learn a little bit more about today.
Hi, I'm Björn, and I'm an election observer. In short, it's about observing elections, or rather election processes in different countries, to see if they are genuine and according to international standards.
He has mainly been part of two different organizations doing this, the OECD and the EU. So if they are invited by the country that are doing an election, they will evaluate if it's useful to go there, and if so, they will send a team there to observe the election.
We have to be invited by the country to come and observe. The whole idea is that this is a partnership where we help the country to develop its democratic process.
Then a team is put together with people from different countries, and these teams consist of three different roles. There is a core team that manages the mission from the capital. Then there are long-term observers that are there around a month to 2 months before the election, and then there are short-term observers that are there for just a week around the election itself. And Björn is usually a long-term observer.
And such an LTO team, a long-term observer team, is then sent out to cover a specific region. So we are sent out, and I'm usually a long-term observer. Then I get sent out and I live for 2 months maybe in a certain region, in some kind of regional capital usually. And then I cover that region, and everything we do and everything we find out, we then report back to this core team in the capital.
And the main task for these teams is to talk to people.
And as a long-term observer, you start meeting with all the people involved. So obviously the election commission on regional level, politicians, both those in power and even more importantly the opposition, to hear how they feel. But you also meet with NGOs, non-governmental organizations, with the media, and of course ordinary voters, people on the street, women in the shops, farmers, whoever.
They talk to whoever they meet on the streets.
Standard thing, if I go to a restaurant, I will talk to the waiter, and after we've ordered and we've had some meal maybe, I would also ask, are you going to vote? And I would say, I don't want to know what you vote for, that is your secret, but I'm just interested, are you planning to vote? If they are going to vote, or if they're not, you also ask why. Why is it important to vote, or why don't you think it's important to vote? To understand what's going on. And if they are going to vote, I would ask them, so how do you decide who to vote for? And again, I don't want to know who you have decided for, but do they come to you? Are politicians coming here to the village? Are they presenting their thing? Or are you listening to radio or TV? Or if there are newspapers, do you read them?
And then on election day, they are traveling around the area, visiting different polling stations.
And normally we will come to a polling station and stay for, we always say at least half an hour. It could be longer if something is a bit funny or weird, or you just think it's useful. But then you visit the polling station, you introduce yourself, you ask a few questions, and then you observe the process. You look at people coming to vote and see if everything is done according to the laws of the country and the international standards that the country has sort of accepted. But everything is reported back to the core team, and in the end it's the core team that then summarizes the whole observation experience and will present a preliminary report or a preliminary statement just after the election day, and later on a more thorough final report where they go through more in detail all the aspects of the election and the process before the election and after the election, and will always present various recommendations, room for improvement, things that did not go so well or that could be questioned, or whatever it is.
This is then presented officially at a press conference and online, but most importantly, it's sent back to the receiving country.
After this report has been presented, we will also ask the country, would you agree with these recommendations? Do you need any help in implementing perhaps some improvements so that you can address these issues that have been sort of brought up in the report? And especially the EU has then development assistance money that can be used to assist that. And then hopefully we're invited again for the next election 4 or 5 years later, and then we can see. So have they changed something in the laws? Have they changed something in the practice of how the election is run? and we can evaluate that and see, yes, there have been steps forward, although some challenges still remain, for instance. Fairly normal comment, that combination. But I mean, that's the whole idea, to take it step by step and hopefully see an improvement.
Björn has now done this around 30 to 40 times in different countries, mostly in the Balkans and in Africa. And one country that he's been to twice and has an interesting story from is Nigeria.
I went in the core team that time for a mission in 2007. Well, basically the election was terrible. It was full of cheating, full of violence. The media, which is, by the way, very good in Nigeria, it's very free media, which is fascinating. They praised the election because they said only 390 people died this time, which they thought was a good sort of benchmark. I think that says something. But yeah, so apart from the violence, I mean, people burned polling stations. In a couple of states, the elections didn't go through at all because various opposition figures burnt down the polling station. In some places, they kidnapped the election staff, or they kidnapped the ballot box, or the ballot box, when the election was over, was taken away somewhere and rearranged and then put back into the system with new votes. And the worst thing was that a lot of this corruption and cheating just went on in front of us. They didn't even care that we saw it. What we did then, so we wrote this preliminary statement and later on the final report, and it was the longest statement I think the EU up until then had ever done, and it was just pages and pages with examples of all the problems. So it became a bit of a disgrace, basically, and the president acknowledged this. So we actually put together a commission, a domestic commission of Nigerian academics to look into our report, our statement, to see if it was true, if they agreed, and if so, what could be done about it. Anyway, in the end in Nigeria, the commission came to the conclusion that yes, the EU observers were right, and yes, their recommendations were good, and a lot of things need to be changed. And then I came back on another mission for the next election in 2011, and I heard all the discussion. I read it in the newspapers, in the debate, how everyone was saying, okay, we really must do a better job this time. The election was not perfect, but it was better. It was definitely better. New laws were implemented that were good. They were not always followed, but the will was there. So it's just a very good example of how what should play out. The country accepts the criticism, looks at the recommendation, tries to implement that, and move on and make it better the next time. And it was a lot better the next time.
And finally, what is the meaning of all this?
Yeah, no, this whole business of election observation is, as I hope, comes across quite fascinating. I'm very happy to be part of it. I mean, I think that, as I said before, it's the expression of the international community to strengthen democracy in the world. And it is just that international community. There is, to me, one such international community. We all live on this earth together, for better or for worse. And I think this whole work is about trying to work together, to live together, to build a better world somehow. It may sound a bit pompous, but that's what it's about, to let everyone have a chance to influence their society and make it a better place.